You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Today on our Weight Loss Wednesday show, I'm excited to bring you a brand new topic on why you should be careful of keto diets. Now, the majority of people out there, the majority of the media out there is saying, look into these high-fat diets, look into going into ketosis. It's the absolute best thing you can do for health, for longevity, from anti-cancer, for weight loss. Well, keep in mind that whenever you hear that, understand that there's always another side of the story, okay? So what happens is this. A few good pieces of research come out, and there is no doubt great research on keto-based diets that show things like, for example, when rats and even humans have been shown to be on a high-fat diet, that means 90+% of all your calories is coming from fat, not from protein. So it's not a high-protein diet. That's not a ketosis-based diet. It's a high-fat diet, 90% coming from fat, the rest coming from protein and carbohydrates. And that has been shown to actually kill cancer cells. Now, why is that? And it's because cancer cells or tumors are actually looked at as using sugar as one of their main energy sources, all right, or fuel sources for the mitochondria. Keep in mind that that does work. Now, if we're talking about a tumor-based cancerous issue. If you have a blood-based cancerous issue, that's not exactly what we're going for. So yes, it has been shown for that, but what happens now? Does that actually apply then to all humans and those without cancer or cancerous tumors? And is it necessarily needed for those who have cancer in the first place? Are there other diets that work? And the answer is yes, there absolutely are. So when you're looking at a ketosis-based diet, this very high-fat diet, oftentimes a lot of saturated fat, and that's also going to be quite high calorie as well. And again, that doesn't mean you're going to put on weight with it, because keto-based diets actually will help you lose weight because they'll get you to tap more into body fat. Again, not necessarily needed, but yes, they do absolutely work for that. So my gripe is this. You have to know when to use it and when not to. So keto-based diets can be good in the short term, but I certainly would never recommend it for long-term use, meaning like longer than, let's say, about 3 weeks or so. And the reason is this. On a keto-based diet, it's been shown now that you can actually decrease metabolism in the long run. Meaning, like, if you go off of this keto-based diet, this high-fat diet, and decide to have carbohydrates again or protein again, what happens is this. Your thyroid can actually be lowered. So you can produce less thyroid hormone. And one of the reasons they're looking into is because a keto diet can actually produce more stress on the body. And when you're producing more stress, your adrenal glands, or your HPA axis, your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, is actually telling your body to produce more adrenaline or norepinephrine. And then in turn, it produces more cortisol. And that cortisol falsely tells you that you have more energy than you really do. That's why people say, I have amazing energy on this keto diet. Well, it could be just because you're producing far larger amounts of cortisol, which I've tested before on lab testing and shown this to be true. And that's not good in the long run because you can burn your body out. Now, remember, a keto-based diet is also a type of survival diet. When you were lacking fruits and vegetables and proteins in the wild, your body would go into ketosis as basically a survival mode. And then it would tap into fat stores that hopefully you built up during a season of plentiful food. And then you would go into maybe the wintertime or shortage of food. That's how the body worked, and it did a great job at that. I'm also not saying that you shouldn't be doing a form of intermittent fasting. I personally recommend, if you looked back into my previous episodes of intermittent fasting, a 12-hour overnight fast, okay? I'm not going to get into that today. What I'm saying is keto diets are not all they're cracked up to be. I'm probably the first person who's saying that. And the reason is this, that I can't give you the information that's just popular today. I need to give you the information that I feel confident about saying this is what's correct 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now, 100 years from now. And the reason is that this has been tried and true over time. Meaning like in Ayurvedic medicine and every other type of medicine, they always had a balanced diet, right? They had protein, carbohydrates, and fat. No person who has access to carbohydrates or protein should knowingly then, in a healthy person, just eliminate those carbohydrates and protein and just have fat. And here's why. They're now showing, I was looking up the research of Dr. Alyssa Seifert, as well as I believe his name is, let me see if I can find it here quickly. I don't have any notes for the show today. Well, I'll definitely put in the notes, but I think his name is Dr. Wall. And so what we're showing is this. People on a keto-based diet, on a high-fat diet, they're actually creating larger amounts of inflammation in their intestines because they're not feeding the microbiome, which means that the carbohydrates, the fiber that you get from vegetables and from fruit, isn't there. So they're not able to replenish and rebuild and grow their microbiome, which basically is the center of your immune system. But also keep in mind is this, that they're showing that inflammation has been triggering an increase in certain autoimmune-based issues like MS. Really important. Now, again, if you just go to common sense, say you didn't look at all the science like I do or someone else does, and again, most gurus online, they're not looking at any science. They're just going with whatever's popular in the media. But if you look at the science, you know it's going to come up. Like you knew that this was going to happen. I was just waiting for the research to show it. Is that when you become imbalanced, it's going to cause an issue, even if it helps in one certain area of your life, meaning like, even if it helps with weight loss, great, short-term, fine. Even if it helps on an anti-cancer-based diet, fine. If the person has cancer, you can look into this, but not for your average person. This is not for your average person to do. This is a survival-based diet. A keto diet is meant for survival, and it also goes into high acidity. Now, can your body buffer that? Yes, but at what expense? At the expense of additional calcium, additional magnesium. Wait till they start looking into bone deterioration and osteoporosis based on keto-based diets. I know they're going to find that connection as well. And when they do, maybe I'll come up with a little podcast saying, hey, do you remember back on episode 179 when I was talking about how keto-based diets can cause osteoporosis, it can lead to osteoporosis? All right, we'll talk about that when the time comes. But please, just be aware, all joking aside, that your diet really should be balanced, okay? You need carbohydrates, you need proteins, you need fats. Those are your macronutrients. Now, your ratios can differ based on the person, meaning like a naturally thin person, a Vata body type, an ectomorph, can have more carbohydrates because they're not going to produce as much insulin. Their body's not going to spike blood sugars high. One of the reasons is their body naturally runs better on carbohydrates. They're a thinner body type. They're a higher metabolic person, whereas a kapha body type or an endomorph should have mostly vegetables, less high glycemic fruits, and less starches because their body runs better on fat as a fuel, and their body's going to turn more of those sugars into fat, and they'll burn that instead. I'll get into more body types on a future show, but today just keep in mind that you have to be careful of not just keto diets. You need to be careful of all this marketing, all of this hype saying that this is it, this is the miracle, this is the cure, this is whatever. No, it's not like that. You have to look at the underlying root causes of why things work and how the body is always looking to create what I call equilibrium or balance. And when it has balance, then none of these ills can occur, none of these diseases can occur because your body can naturally balance itself. It can naturally use its own immune system, which is Th1, Th2, Th17, all these different lymph cells or T cells that can basically kill disease, kill cancer cells on their own. So please do keep that in mind. Please let me know if you have any follow-up questions on this. I know this is going to be a very controversial episode. And again, I'm not saying keto-based diets don't work. They do. But should they be used for the long term? And are they safe for everyone? And the answer is now no. And you can look at the research, and the research does point to that. So please keep an open mind whenever you're looking at any type of diet, any type of research, and do understand that there is no one thing for every human on earth. And hopefully we know that by now. All right, everyone, please do feel free to share this episode with anyone you believe it could open their mind or help in any way. And thank you once again for tuning into another Cabral Concept. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me
to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.